Yo, what's up? We out here yet again, trying to get 2 degrees, 3 degrees buffer. Still waiting on that email, so I don't know which one it's gonna be yet. But anyways, like, subscribe, and share. We out here. You know how we roll. You know how we do. Let's get into this thing. I wanted to continue on day 1 of this rightful relationships thing. The more I thought about it, the more thoughts came into my mind. Imagine that. But the second part here was talking about, the subtitle was not only asking but listening. You know, this is tough. Like, when it comes to relationships, it's really tough because we all have ideas of what we want in another person, right? There's a there's all different kinds of things I could say at this point. But guys, you know the kinds of things that are on your list. Girls, you know the kinds of things that are on your list. We all have these things. We all have these ideas of what we want their personalities to be like, what we want them to look like, where we want them to be from, maybe the way that they sound, the skills or talents or abilities that they have, the way that they communicate, the way they treat other people. Like, all of these things are factors when it comes into what we're looking for and what we consider deal breakers when it comes to relationship. But if we are looking to ask God to help us in this, then the big challenge is the listening part. Because more often than not, let's keep it real. When we're asking God for relationship advice, or not even advice, when we're asking God for help in our relationships, it's usually not for Him to show us anything. More often than not, it's for Him to kind of confirm something that we're doing, or the person that we're doing it with, or to affirm us in the decisions that we are making, not necessarily for Him to show us the way. It's different from, I think some examples off my head in the Bible would be, it was not Moses, the other one, Abraham, Isaac. Was it Isaac? I think Isaac is the one. Moses met his wife at a well. Isaac did also with Rebecca. That's right. And he just happens to be there, and it was him, right? Was it Rachel and Leah with Jacob? Man, it was one of those guys. I gotta get back in the story. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is, for the most part, we kind of see that the relationship happens, and their approach to it is different than ours. Jacob is probably not a great example because we know of the strife and all the issues that happened with Rachel and Leah. But I don't know. If you can think of an example, let me know down in the comments to help me at least have some modicum of sanity. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a little bit lost right now in my thought process. But I feel like there's some examples in the Bible of where people prayed to see something and they saw it and they went with that. And it's not from people that they were trying to get at, and they weren't asking for God to affirm them in the decision that they were trying to do. But I feel like there's some stories where people in the Bible expressed faith in God to lead them to the right person, and God did. All right. I don't know why I feel like that's such a biblical thing, but help me out with that. But anyways, that's the thing. When I look at those illustrations and those examples, and I think of where we are today, at the very least, I can say that our experiences with relationships are quite different than how it was for people during Bible times. Now, obviously, technology is a big factor in this. You might have only had access to the few people that were around you who lived in your neighborhood, or who lived over on the next hill, in the next tents over. Nowadays we have the internet. We have access to everyone, everywhere, all at once. And there's this constant bombardment of, better this and better that, and what can I do? And there's like no limit. And so it makes it very tough for us to even focus on the people around us that we could have great experiences with, because we're so overstimulated. We're looking for the next. Which makes listening even harder, because there's so much more noise and confusion that maybe even common sense, much less heavenly wisdom, has to work through to get to us. I was in a situation one time. Yeah, we out here telling stories. I'm not gonna say any names though. Won't do that. I was in a situation one time where, man, I was the definition of a damn simp. I tell you, not one of my finest moments. But yeah, it was weird because this was a situation where I liked the girl so much that I ended up so I could take her to a Valentine's banquet. I took her best friend also. Never do that. It didn't, yeah, simping is never going to work out for you. Let's just say that. And the worst part about that is I was stuck in that situation for, I would say, maybe a year and a half. And I knew where things were going, and I always had a feeling that that's where they were going to go. And where I knew the things were going to go it was not where I wanted things to go. And I knew that, and I still stayed there. I wasn't listening. Common sense wasn't breaking through because of all the things I thought I was looking for. And this is what makes it so difficult, because even in that moment, I was like, oh man, she's so this, she's so that. End up going to meet the family, met the parents, all this and that. They were great, by the way. But it's like, you see all these things. It's almost like that statement, when people tell you who they are, believe them. And it just wasn't supposed to be. And I could see all the signs for that, and I still didn't want to accept it. So this idea of really letting God, how many of you have been in a situation where you see something and it's like, I don't really know about that. And you let it go, and it still sticks with you. And you kind of have a feeling that things are going a certain way, but you're still waiting, holding on, trying to do this and do that. And it just, you're missing out on what seems like common sense, which actually could be that heavenly wisdom trying to tell you to make a move, something like that. So it's very interesting. And even here it says, if you've been coming up short in the area of relationships, it's really where we need the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And I will agree with that. I think that a lot of my experience in relationships really shows that I can't trust myself when it comes to things like that. And I think if we're being honest, a lot of you probably feel the same way. But the question is, what are we going to do about that? Are we going to keep going in circles and say, well, it didn't work this time with this person. Let me mix it up and do something different. Let me read this book, or let me get up on more game so I can, let me swallow the red pill so I know how to, and all this nonsense. We keep getting caught up in all of this instead of taking a step back and saying, all right, God, help me out here. Show me the way, instead of help my ways and my methods to be successful. Those are two very different things. Especially if the things and the ways and what we're trying to put into place are not God's will or in accordance with his will. So it's interesting. Relationships, man, I tell you, let God lead. Let God lead. Let me see. I want to go here just really quick in this next few moments to the comments that I put on this devotional. The first one: God will always lead us in life and relationships if we ask. If we ask. We have to listen, but we need to ask. By building a better relationship with God, we are able to build better relationships with the people around us. And I think this is very important as well. There's been a few times where I'll start out like really connected with God, and I'll have this impression to pursue someone, or to kind of make my interest known to a girl or something like that. And I'll start out still kind of trusting God and staying consistent with my devotional life and praying and Bible study and all that. And then over time, she kind of takes over, instead of the last thing I do at night being my devotion and praying, it's staying up on the phone with somebody. Or instead of the first thing I do in the morning being my devotions and prayer, I'm on the phone with somebody or checking in with somebody. And my mind's in a completely different place. And almost inevitably, it's a hard thing to keep balance of, because it's someone that you care a lot about and you may love in certain scenarios, depending on how far along you are. But where's the line, and are we making these individuals gods? Are we replacing God in our life with these people, and then we wonder why things end up falling apart? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to keep that in consideration. Building the better relationships with God does help us there. But once we get the things that we're asking God for, we can't let God, or we can't leave him on the curb and just, all right, on to the next thing. No, the same thing that got us success is the same thing that will keep us successful. And we have to stay there and keep that relationship going first and foremost if we want to have success in any other relationships. Always ask questions, always grow, and always keep moving beyond the comfort zone. Letting God lead. This is the second one. Letting God lead means letting go of the controls to give him control. It can feel scary, but thanks to the Holy Spirit, we don't have to be afraid. And I'll admit, I struggle with this because there's a lot of times I'm like, man, God, you're gonna try to screw me up out here. You're gonna try to set me up with something that I have no interest in. I've heard some of these stories. You see some of these arranged. You know, I'm not gonna dog on it because a lot of arranged marriages actually end up better than what we got going on here in the States, so I can't dog on it too much. But there are the situations where you hear people are just like, yeah, we do this because we have to, not because there's any love or we want to be there, or not even any attraction. Or you have in some contexts, you have like 14, 15-year-olds being paired up with 40, 50-year-olds. And it's like, what, like, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I'm not trying to dog anyone's culture because it's different out there. And I don't understand it. But I'm just saying, it's a tough thing to do, to want to give up control, especially in an area like that, because of the things that we want and the things that we desire in those situations. Let's see. After all, trusting myself should make me a hell of a lot more afraid than trusting God, because I've seen how untrustworthy and unreliable I've been in the past. And this is facts. When I look at how I've been, the things that I've done, yeah, I might have to tell that story sometime. But whether it's like deciding that you want to steal one of your boys, one of the girlfriends of your homie because you want to see if you can, not a good look. Not a good look. Oh man, God is the only one who can lead me rightly and to show me the ways to walk in. It's only up to me to be intentional about connecting with him and letting him lead. And that to me is what this whole day one experience means. You're not going to trust the Holy Spirit unless you develop a relationship with him. You're not going to trust God to lead you in the right way unless you take the time to spend in relationship with him. Only people that you trust can you have any kind of surety that they care for your best interests. And the reality is, a lot of us will spend more time trying to pursue that girl or that guy than we will trying to pursue God. And it's an issue if I claim to be a follower of Christ, then I need to be trying to follow Christ and letting him lead the way as I follow him. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's where the tension is. So yeah, a lot of really good reflection on this. I'm going to leave it here for today. And day two, I'll get to 2 days after starting this thing. But anyways, like, subscribe, share. Once again, you know what it is. You know how we roll. And I will catch you in the next one. Peace.